Hi, I'm Lisa Leiter. In Chicago Business Today, Tootsie's sweet deal. Chicago-based Tootsie Roll has a sugar mixing plant at the Illinois International Port District's Lake Calumet Harbor. What might come as a surprise, though, is that it is also a foreign trade zone that allows the candy maker to buy sugar at substantially lower prices than its competitors. And that makes Tootsie Roll an even more attractive takeover target. Earlier, I sat down with Crain's reporter David Sterrett to talk about how Tootsie Roll got this sweet deal. David, thanks for joining us today. So how did Tootsie Roll manage to acquire this foreign trade zone status at this plant?
Well, it's unclear exactly how they got it at first, but it was around 1985 that they got approval from the U.S. government to start bringing in foreign sugar. And then they momentarily lost it through some sort of legislative act. And it was the former powerful Congressman Dan Rostenkowski who actually tucked it into a much larger bill that protected their ability to keep their foreign trade zone status in 1990. And this was right after Rostenkowski had tried to help Brock's get the same status, and the foreign trade zone actually rejected it at this time because it was when the sugar lobby became very powerful and said, no, we don't want people to have this advantage. And Brock said it would have saved them $20 million annually if they had the same status that Tootsie Roll had been given pretty much. And without it, they said they were going to close their plant, and they did close their plant and left town.
Yes, they certainly did. So the question is, will Tootsie Roll be able to hold on to this exemption going forward?
People that work at the Foreign Trade Zone Board and consultants who work with companies trying to get into the Foreign Trade Zone Board said because of this law and the way Rostenkowski wrote it into a piece of legislation, it would probably need another piece of legislation to cancel it, and there doesn't seem like there'd be any impetus to do that. So at this point, it seems like they're going to have it for perpetuity as long as there's no other law created. And at the same time, it seems like anyone that was to buy Tootsie Roll, or if there was a change in ownership, they would still maintain this special status.
Because it's the plant itself that has a status, not the company.
Correct.
Right?
It's actually one of their subsidiaries. They do have a manufacturing facility that's in the zone there at the port.
Okay. Now, Tootsie Roll stock has been trading at a higher valuation than some of its competitors. How much of that is on the idea that it could be an attractive takeover target, something that's been talked about really for years?
Yeah, the few analysts that cover the company say that the stock price trades at a higher value than most of its competitors purely on the idea that it will be a takeover target. I mean, its earnings growth has been pretty lackluster in the last decade, so the benefit they're getting is the fact that someone thinks they will come in and pay a premium to buy the company off the Gordons.
This is a closely held company. Ellen and Melvin Gordon, keeping tight reins on this company. Are they any closer to a sale? What are your sources telling you?
Well, the Gordons are very tight-lipped and haven't said anything to anybody about what their plans are. But I mean, a lot of investors are feeling it is getting closer. The top investor in the company, besides the Gordons, Mario Gabelli, who is known for buying companies that are viewed as takeover candidates, he recently publicly said after the Kraft Cadbury deal that he thought Tootsie Roll would be a takeover candidate, and that could happen any time now.
And who do you think is the most likely buyer?
That's always a hard question. I mean, there's always been talk that maybe a larger company, maybe a Hershey type, would buy it and look to expand it, or you could see a private equity company that feels like they could run it and make a profit, cut costs.
Now, what does the company have to say about all of this, the foreign trade exemption and also the fact that they are being talked about once again as a takeover target?
Yeah, the company has yet to comment on any of the takeover target speculation, but they did issue a statement to me saying that yes, they do use the foreign trade zone and it does help them bring in world sugar at a cheaper price for a portion of their products. They did say that they didn't think it was a significant driver of earnings and profitability, but at the same time they said it was very important to them, and without it they kind of raised a question about would they be able to keep the jobs here in Chicago. So they said it wasn't significant, but at the same time it was really important.
And they have about 700 jobs here in Chicago.
That's what they
right?
said.
Yeah, well, certainly this exemption makes them the envy of the entire candy industry. Well, David, it's a really great story, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Lisa.
And that's this edition of Chicago Business Today. You can read David's story in this week's print edition of Crain's or on chicagobusiness.com, where you can also find all of your breaking news. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.